current situation, if we see the Muslim Ummah in current situation, we will find the reality here. Reality is here. So in this hadith, Allah's Holy Prophet ﷺ said, we will get raises and aruj and glory from this book when we act upon the commandments of Allah Almighty, and when we will go into the fall down. So that fall down due to the lack of the implementation of this book. So now it's upon us how we deal with this book, and how we should deal it, and how we should connect with it, and we should understand what is the relationship of our life, our personal relationship with Quran. Is it in our priority or not? So again, this is the question. So dear audience, in starting point, we discuss about the fazila from Quran and from Sunnah. Now I will come to the main topic of today's session, that is about the understanding the basic principles of the Quran. So the question is here, why it is important to understand the translation of the Holy Quran. Why it is important? Because Quran, it is in Arabic language, and Arabic language, it is not our native language. If someone, even from Arab world, the Arab language is also different nowadays from the language of the Quran. So if any person, he remains in the Arab world, he has to learn and he has to study the basic principles of the Arabic language and some other principles. So to understand the basic principles, to understand the Quran, it is same time important for Arabs and same time important for the non-Arabs as well. It is not just for the non-Arabs, for the Ajmi world. In current scenario, even if we see the period of Sahaba Kiram, if we observe the companions of the Holy Prophet, even companions of the Holy Prophet, when they study or when they recite the verse of the Holy Quran, they were unable, at first stance and first point, they were unable to understand what is the true teaching of the Quran and what is the true meaning of this verse. When they read any verse, so at first sight or at first observation, they were unable to understand the real and the true meaning of the Quran. They were muhtaj, or they want to need some explanation, some commentary, some ahadith. They want to understand through these ahadith and some other background, asbab nuzul, pas manzar, background. So these all were the basic needs for that era, for that period. Holy Prophet ﷺ, although was there, but some Sahaba or companions, they were first of all, in first stance, they were unable to understand the Quran or understand the basic verse. So they asked to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, O Holy Prophet, what is the real meaning of this verse? So after the questioning of the companions, Holy Prophet ﷺ explained with hadith or with any other act. So the question is, and the theme is, when companions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they were not directly able to understand at first stance, in a first sight, in a first observation, they were not able to understand. So how we can be able in today's world, and how our youngsters, our teenagers, our people, men, women, how they can easily understand the direct Arabic language. So it means there are some principles, there are some rules, there are some qawaid and legal maxims, and there are some principles. If we will understand these principles, so after understanding these principles, we will be able to understand the true meaning of the verse. When we will see the background, asbab-e-nuzul, shan-e-nuzul, background, pas-e-manzar, when we will see all these things, after observation of these all things, then we will be able to understand the true meaning of the Quran. So that's why it is very, very much important to understand the basic principles of the understanding the Quran. Without understanding the basic principles, as Quran mentioned, Hudan lil Muttaqin, Yudillu bihi, and at one place Quran said, Yudillu bihi kathira wa yahdi bihi kathira. Lot of people, they will get hidayah from it, from Quran. They will get guidance from Quran. They will get light and knowledge from Quran. But some persons, their lives will be destroyed when they will read it without principles, without commentary, without asbab-e-nuzul, without background, without shan-e-nuzul. So if we will just read without context, or if we will focus on the word by word translation, then word by word translation, reading word by word translation, we cannot get the true meaning. We have to see the background of this verse. We have to see the context of this verse. So that's why the principles are very, very important. Nowadays, our youngsters, our teenagers, particularly those persons who are living in Europe world, in European culture or civilization. So lot of translation you will find there. Lot of translation is there in English translation. And if we come here in subcontinent, in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, in this area, so we will see the Urdu translation are here. Lot of Urdu translation are here. So the question is, whose translation is best? There are a lot of translators are there. And we should be very careful when we are taking any translated version. When we are purchasing any translated version, we should be very careful. Who is the translator of this Quran? Because translation is not Quran, exact Quran. One thing should be very clear here. When first translation of the Quran done by some persons, they were criticized. When the first translation of the Quran was done, so the translator was criticized. Why criticized? Because on opponent side, they said Quran is the Kalamullah. These all are the words of Allah Almighty. So how we can translate the words of Allah Almighty in another language? So they were criticized on first time. when translation was done in history, Hazrat Sayyidina Sulaiman Farsi Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, he translated partial Quran, first Surah Al-Fatiha, first time. When Islam spread to the non-Arab world, to the Ajmis, to the non-Arab world, when Islam spread to all these Iran and some other geographical places like Iran and other Rome. So at that time, Sayyidina Sulaiman Farsi Raziyallahu Ta'ala, he translated Surah Al-Fatiha in Persian language first time. Persian language. First translation. Not complete whole book. Not whole. Just Surah Al-Fatiha. Partially translated by Sayyidina Sulaiman Al-Farsi Raziyallahu Ta'ala. In first time in history. Why? And he said, because he said, yes, we cannot translate the exact meaning of the Allah Almighty. This is the Kalamullah. And Kalamullah means it is not creation. It is not created. The Kalamullah, it is not creation. These are the Allah, words of Allah Almighty. This is not makhluk or creation. So we cannot translate it. Yes, we cannot translate it. But when we will go for the translation, we will go to the near meaning of these Arabic words. We can get closer to the true meaning of the Quran. We will get closer the exact meaning of the Quran or speech of Allah Almighty. So that's why when we will recite or when we will read the all translations of the Quran from the Sayyidina Sulaiman Farsi to till this era in 2026, in all this period, not a single translator claimed that this is the exact 100% exact translation of the Quran. You will not find a single translator of this kind of claim. No one claim it because it is impossible. It is impossible. So the question is, then what is the benefit of the translation? Then why we read the translation? What is the benefit of it? Yes, the answer is, as I told earlier, we will get closer the real meaning of the Holy Quran. Ultimately, we can understand what theoretically or in a real sense Allah wants to us. What is the requirement of Allah Almighty here? What is the commandments are here? So we will get closer to the meaning. So that's why I said and I described here, not a single translator claimed this is the complete and 100% translation of the Holy Quran and the translation of the speeches of Allah Almighty and words of Allah Almighty. Not a single translator claimed it. Never ever in the history of the Islam. So number one. And number two, as I told you, if we see the translation, the first translation done by Sayyidina Sulaiman Al-Farsi Raziyallahu Ta'ala. So this is the first translation in Persian language. In Persian language. And if we see some other translation of the Holy Quran, then when Islam spreads to non-Arabs and spread to the Central Asia, India, Africa, so in 7th to 10th century, in this period, a lot of translation were done in Persia in Indian language, in African language, and in many other languages in 7th and 10th century, and Turkish language as well. And if we see the in subcontinent in Urdu, so we will find the first Urdu translation of Shah Rafiuddin. Shah Rafiuddin. This was his first Urdu translation, word for word translation, lafz by lafz, word by word. This was the first Urdu translation done by Shah Rafiuddin in subcontinent. Then another Urdu translation done by Shah Abdul Qadir. This was the idiomative translation, which is called Ba Muhavra. Shah Rafiuddin done word by word, lafz by lafz. But Shah Abdul Qadir, his translation done idiomative, Ba Muhavra, in phrases. Then some other translations done in Greek language or in Arab tafasir or in other languages. So these were the very short intro of the translation. Although it has a long detail and very comprehensive detail, but I just took some examples. And then there are some types of translation. So this is the very important. There are some types of the translation are here. If you see the tafasir or trajim or translations, there are three types of the translation or the tafasir here. The first one is intralingual. Translation. And second one, like Arab tafasir, all Arab tafasir or Arabic tafasir, it is intralingual tafasir or the translations. The second is interlingual, which is Urdu or Angrezi tafasir or English tafasir. The third is intersemitic tafasir or the translation, intersemitic. These are the three basic types of the translation. I am repeating here. The one is intralingual, and the second is interlingual, and third is intersemitic. These are the three main types of the translation and tafasir. The first one is the Arabic tafasir. The second one is the Urdu or the other English languages tafasir or the trajim, and third one is the intersemitic. Now we will focus on third type, we will focus on second type, which is interlingual, divided into two types, further divided into two types. Second type is further divided into two types. What is the second type? Interlingual. So interlingual is divided into further two types. The one is formal, which is very relevant to our topic, which is interlingual. It has further two types, as I told earlier. The one is the formal, and the second is the dynamic or the functional. The second type is dynamic and the functional. So I am repeating again, we have three basic types: intralingual, and second is interlingual, and third is intersemitic. And interlingual is further divided into two category, which is formal. First one is formal, and the second one is the dynamic or the functional. And then this dynamic and functional is further divided into two category, further divided, dynamic or the functional, it divided into two category. The one is the thematic and the second is the phrase by phrase. One is the thematic and other is phrase by phrase. So nowadays some modern scholars they are focusing on these both two, thematic translation and the phrase by phrase translation. And if we see the phrase by phrase translation, when any translator does the translation of the Holy Quran, so he faces some challenges and some difficulties, and he has a great pressure on his mind, because translation is not a easy job, it is not an easy task, it is a great work, it is not an easy job. When any translator is doing the translation of the Holy Quran, so this is a great job, but translator feels a pressure on him, he feels some difficulties even on any verse. When he go for the translation, he observes lot of times and he gives many days on just single verse, because it is not easy, lot of pressure is there. What kind of pressure he feels and what kind of pressure he faces, because he is doing the translation of Allah Almighty speech, Allah Almighty Kalam. He is translating the Allah Almighty language in another language. So when he is translating this sensitive topic or sensitive task and very poised sensitive task, so he feels pressure. So lot of pressure is here, lot of skills are required for a translator, and ulum, sciences required for translation, and some other arts are required, and some modern practices and current issues should be in his knowledge. He should know all the current scenarios, all current political developments, and he should know what is going on in this universe, geographically changes and political changes, economical developments and some other developments. He should know very clearly. So it is not an easy job for a translator to translate the Holy Quran or translate in another language. So he feels pressure and he feels some difficulties. So this is one thing which I want to convey about the translator difficulty. We should understand that if any translator he does mistakes in translation, so we should ignore it first of all. That's why I'm saying this. For example, he's insan, he's bashar, and he's human being. Maybe he face difficulties and he feels pressure. So due to this pressure and difficulties and his knowledge, every translator has some limited knowledge, limited environment, limited knowledge, limited other skills. So maybe when he is going for translate any verse, maybe he feel the maybe any pressure or any kind of the mistake he do there. So that's why we should accept it. We should not criticize him. We should accept it. He is human being. So lot of mistakes we find in the translation. So this thing is very important to understand for a translator at when we are going to read the translation of the Holy Quran. So nowadays, what kind in when we are living here in 2026, when the people are living in Europe, when people are living in Pakistan, in subcontinent, when people are living in other areas, and when Islam or when Muslim Ummah is in fall down, in the position of Zawal, we are facing the position of Zawal, and scientific developments are here by the European countries, and the scientific uh, discoveries are here by the European countries, and the sciences and other knowledges are increasing day by day, and some AI challenges are here. So when the verses of jihad and verses of the some sensitive part of the Quran, when we read or when we find, so now in this situation discussing earlier, so when we find this type of the scenario, like the advancement is here, cultural advancement is here, political and economical developments is here, and the one narrative is built about the Muslim Ummah, and unfortunately a negative tag is attached to Muslim Ummah, with Muslim Ummah. Unfortunately, Muslims, they are called fundamentalist, and they are called terrorist. Unfortunately, although Alhamdulillah, we are very clear what we are and what Islam is and what Islam stands for, and Islam stands for peace, always peace. So, but political agendas is here, and some international agendas is here. So due to the international and political agendas, and due to the political and international funding, some of the scholars and some of the media personnels, they propagate negatively that Islam is about the fight, and they misinterpret the verses of the jihad. They misinterpret the verses of the jihad. Similarly, they misinterpret the specific verses of the women, where the about Vadribuhunna, the word is Vadribuhunna in Quran, mentioned here in Surah Al-Baqarah, beat the woman. So they show this kind of words, beat the woman, to the Western media or Western international media. So when they read or when they study this type of verses from the translation of the Holy Quran, those translation which are very limited, not those translation are not done in the international environment, in scientific environment, and they are done without context, and the translation is done without asbaru nazul, shan nazul, context. So these weaknesses you will find when you will read these weaknesses in any translation. So you will ultimately, eventually, you will find very limited and narrow narrative of Islam about any topic. You will not get the detailed, innovative, scientific, up-to-date version of Islam. Unfortunately, a lot of translation has been done in limited scenario, in limited environment, without context, without phrases, without thematic methodology, without adopting a thematic methodology, and without understanding the national, international, political, economical conditions. When any youngster, any teenager, he or she will read this type of translation, they will misinterpret the Quran, or they will be misunderstood on the topic of the Quran or the jihad verses on some other topics. So eventually we should be very careful. We should be very careful about the translation of the Holy Quran. Now, at the end of our session, practically, I will put some of the verses in front of you from the Manifest Quran. The Manifest Quran, it is a contemporary English translation done by Shaykhul Islam, Dr. Muhammad Tahirul Qadri. The Manifest Quran. I suggest all of you, I suggest very humbly and I will request all of you, please purchase one copy for your home, the Manifest Quran for your children. This is a very beautiful, scientific, logical, with context translation in the light of current problems, international scenario, in scientific way, or in the true meaning remain there. So this is a very beautiful translation. I will suggest all of you, and I request to all of you, please purchase one copy of this Manifest Quran. Now I will present a very important verse in front of you about the domestic violence of women, which is done by our lot of translators. This is Surah An-Nisa, verse number 34, Surah number 4. Allah said here, I will suggest all of you, if you can open this verse in front of you in your mobile, in your laptop, whatever you are taking class on your mobile or on laptops. If you open this verse number 34, Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, 34 verse. Here, first of all, I would present the background in front of you. If we see the background of this verse, some persons or some people in our society, they say men are the dominant on the women. Men are the dominant on the women. And this dominant means they take negative advantages of some domestic things. They take negative advantages and they claim we are dominant, we are bartar, or we are ala, and we are superior upon women. Men are superior and women are inferior. Unfortunately, they understand and they claim it. From where they claim it, from where this sense and this thoughts they came, and they borrow from where this type of thought, they took it from translation of the Holy Quran, from the wrong and the limited translation of the Holy Quran, which is very unfortunately not as per the international national parameters, or which is the very far from the true meaning of the Quran even. Now I will read the verse, Surah Nisa, verse number 34. Allah said here, Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim, Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa. بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض إلى آخر الآية. I'm now reading the translation for the saving of the time. Allah said here in English, men are the caretakers of women. So Dr. Qadri, he translated the word kawwam. The word here is kawwam. Kawwam, he translated this word kawwam as a caretaker of women. And in bracket, he said, maintaining their financial and housing needs. Financial and housing need, maintaining their financial and housing needs. This is the caretaker means. So kawwam mean caretaker of the woman, not dominant on women. The dominant meaning is negatively inculcated by negatively by some wrong translations. So he, Dr. Qadri, he said, men are the caretakers of women. And in bracket, he said, maintaining their financial and housing needs through the blessing Allah has graced upon some of them above other, and through what they spend out of their wealth to support others. So righteous women are sincere, pious, and guarding what Allah has entrusted them to keep protected in the absence of their husbands. As for those wives you fear rebellious conduct on their part, first advise them. Now it is very important part which I want to interpret in front of you. Again, as for those wives you fear rebellious conduct on their part, first advise them. And if ineffective, advice is ineffective, leave them alone in their beds. This is second stage. Third, and as a last resort, turn them away from yourselves, striking a temporary separation. Here, the situation I want to put in front of you, situation, it is about if any woman in a house, in a family, any woman in front of his husband, any wife in front of his husband, she is doing rebellious or she is doing misconduct or misbehave with his husband, then Quran says at first stage advise her. Simply, the first stage is advice. बातचीत करो उससे. Advice, dialogue. Dialogue should be there at first stage. Conversation should be there. Advice should be there. And what advice mean? Advice mean not aggressively, very politely, very intellectually, very wisely. Solve the issue very wisely, very intellectually, very politely, ethically. Your tongue, your speech, your words should be very soft. Don't use the abusive language. Don't use the aggressive and any negative word which break her feelings, which breaks her emotions. So first stage, Allah said advise them. Advise your wife. First stage. And what is second stage? Allah said if this will be ineffective, what is second stage? Then second stage, leave them alone in their beds for some days. Go to your room and do her separate in her bedroom, in her room. So room should be changed there. You will not sleep in one room. So this is the second stage. Now the third stage, which is very important, the Arabic word. The Arabic word is used here, vadribuhunna. And very important word, vadribuhunna. And vadribuhunna, this is Arabic word, and the root word of vadribuhunna is darbun. Darbun. And darbun mean to beat someone. Marna, kisi ko marna, to beat someone. Kisi ko marna, kisi ko beatna, to beat someone. This is the one meaning of darbun. One meaning of darbun. Now, unfortunately, lot of translations you will find at the third stage, translators did translation beat them, beat your wives. Some says very politely beat, very softly beat, one just sleep, just beat very, very softly. So, but the word beat is there. So beat is the word there. Then your softly beating, politely beating, every beating will be beating. So this is the questionable. In current scenario, in current world, at that time when the women rights are here, women voices are here, women dominancy is here, when the some propagandas about the women rights are here. So in this scenario, will you use the word beat is for the woman? So now we should think, and true translator of the Holy Quran, he will think about it very deeply. When we see the word darbun, so darbun has 17 other meanings. This is very interesting. Darbun has 17 other meanings. 17 other meanings. Why we are taking and why we are borrowing just one meaning of beat her? Why we are taking one meaning, beat her? In spite of all these 12, 14, 16 meaning are there. So one meaning is from those 16 meaning is give example. Darbun mean example. Daraballahu masal. Allah used this word in Quran. Darbun mean example. Masal. Give example. Because when you will give example, it means again do dialogue. And dialogue with examples. Do dialogue with your wife in a great conversation with examples. So this is the one stance and one translation. And Dr. Qadri, he said here, Vadribuhunna, meaning of Vadribuhunna, he said, from yourself striking a temporary separation. Go for temporary separation. He did the temporary separation again for Vadribuhunna. But I am here doing, and from other tafasir, I am putting in front of you the meaning of darbun mean misal, example. So you go for dialogue with your wife, give examples, convince her. If she is angry, convince her with examples. Dialogue and conversation should be there with examples. If your point of view is strong, then your point of view will be acceptable to you. And if her point of view in this problem is strong, then you should accept. You should accept it. So when we read this type of translation, which is very correct, which is very perfect, and which is very logical, and no other person can blame Islam No one can say this is domestic violence about women. So when we will do this type of translation, and when we will read this type of translation, we will fight the preface of Islam. We will fight the Muqaddimah and preface of Islam. And if, unfortunately, we did the very narrow meaning, or just we focus on the word by word translation, then we will lose the Muqaddimah of Islam, unfortunately. So this is not about the just about the translation. This is about Islam. This is about Deen. We are fighting the Muqaddimah in 2026. In this scenario, when the international media is here, they propagate negatively very quickly, when they find the domestic violence in Pakistan or in other Muslims houses. They say see, this is Islam. So we should understand what we are reading, what we are doing, the translation. The one thing is more here, which I want to put in front of you about the Wadribuhunna. Beat the woman, about the woman. My here research on this word, my personal research on this word, Wadribuhunna. I did research on it, Wadribuhunna. I did research here in lot of tafasir, the mufassirin. They said Wadribuhunna, the mukhatab of Wadribuhunna are the women, but the punishment will be given not by his husband. Punishment will be given by the court, by the government. The government will be involved here. The court will be involved here. Judge will be involved here. And judge, government, court, they will decide. And if any kind of punishment is mandatory and compulsory, the government and court will announce the punishment. A husband cannot announce the punishment. Even he cannot give the punishment. He cannot beat the woman. So the government, court is bound to implement the punishment. First of all, they will listen the Muqaddimah. So court will be, in this Wadribuhunna, the court will be involved here. Why? What is the logic? Why I'm saying the court and government will be involved here? Because the one word is called Mizaje Quran, and this is Urdu word, Mizaje Quran. So Mizaje Quran, when we understand what is the Mizaj of Quran, when we read whole the Quran, we read some Mizaj of Quran, methodology of Quran. We will find methodology of the Quran, Mizaj of Quran. The Mizaj and methodology of Quran is when any kind of punishment you will find, any kind of punishment in Quran, the government will give the punishment. Government will give the punishment, or the court will announce it, or the court will give the punishment. Not an individual can claim for punishment. So here's when you will find the case of the thief or the case of theft. As-sariqu was-sariqu faqtu aydiyahuma. When both are male and female thief are there, cut their hands. Who will cut the hands? You? Me? No. The government, the court will announce it. The punishment, the right of punishment goes to the government, goes to the court, not individual. Similarly, about some other Hadith Qazaf, Hadith Sharab in Quran, lot of punishments are here. All punishments goes to the belong to the government or the court. Government and courts will decide the punishment, or will claim, or will announce the punishment. Not individual, not single person can claim or announce punishment, even cannot give the punishment. So same kind here, Badribuhunna. The government is the uh, mukhatab here. The punishment given by the government or the court. So this is the basic translation of the word Badribuhunna. I quote one example here just in front of you. And if you see the some other examples, a lot of examples are here in front of me. Now I will just quote one last example, then inshallah we will finish our today's session. Surah Ad-Duha, verse number 6 to 8. This is about the etiquette and adab of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nowadays, unfortunately, our lot of scholars, they do translation, but they miss the adab of Holy Prophet. They miss the adab of Holy Prophet. So here, if we read the Quranic verse, Surah Duha, chapter 93, verse 6 to 8, Allah said, Alam yajidka yatiman fa'awa, wa wajadaka dalan fahada, wa wajadaka a'ilan fa'aghna. Dr. Qadri, the Manifest Quran, he translated, did he not find you an orphan and sheltered you with a graceful position? And next is very important. He found you lost in his love, in bracket, in his love, and guided you to your destination. The word dalan here. Now listen carefully. A lot of translators, they did the wrong translation of dalan. They did gumrah, nauz destruction. Dalan mean gumrah. They did it translating just literal translation. They did the literal translation. They don't think that who is the person here in front of Allah. The Holy Prophet is here. The Holy Prophet is here. So Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is here. So you will use the word gumrah for Holy Prophet. Nauz billah. Not a layman believer can use this word. But unfortunately, scholars in lot of translation, they used it.